Good evening. Welcome to the January 24th, 2011 Waterboro Board of Selectmen meeting. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome. Pleased to see that we have some people in attendance in the audience tonight. Is there any announcements? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Hearing of delegation. Is there anyone that has any business before the board? Yes, Nancy.
My name is Nancy. I'm the welfare director in town. I just want to give thanks to a few people tonight, if that's okay. 3 different categories, so if I seem a little long-winded, sorry. For Thanksgiving, we had 7 families that needed help, and we had local businesses that took care of all 7, and we had more baskets than we needed. You know, it was good. They really came out and took care of things. And at Christmas time, I just want to give thanks to the Santa's Helpers Foundation. Without them, the program wouldn't be available to those in need. We helped 65 families, 156 kids total. 30 families came in and applied to us directly, and 35 families sent letters to Santa's Helper. Together, they all received toys, a nice meal, and all the leftover food went to the York County Food Pantry, because they serve Waterboro residents and surrounding towns as well, so we gave leftovers to them. And I just want to thank everybody that was involved. They put a lot of time and effort into taking care of this. All the private citizens that adopted families, businesses, most of them were in town. We had one business in Alfred Giles that helped us with donations. They donated money, food, just in adopted families and took care of it. It was an excellent year. And all of Santa's elves who helped us with shopping, wrapping, they all did a great job. And I just want to thank them all. They were great. And I just want to let them know that I really appreciate that they helped, and the people of the town took care of their other people in town that are in need. And on the fuel assistance, we had a few places that stepped up and really helped us out this year. JD's Package Store, they donated, I'll get to the breakdown after. Waterboro's associated businesses, they donated. The Waterboro firefighters give back, and just the different people that donated bottles and cans at the transfer station. The breakdown was, as of May 2011, we collected $934.75 just from bottles and cans. $1,000 donated by JD's. $2,500 donated from the Waterboro Bean Suppers. $406.23 left from the Santa's Helpers that he put in towards oil. And $3,000 donated from the Waterboro associated businesses for a total of $7,840.98, which we've gone through most of it already. There's a lot of need this year. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, that everybody should be proud of what they've done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I think the board would like to echo those sentiments that she so eloquently expressed, regarding the spirit of giving to those in need within the community. It's to be applauded, and hopefully we have the same level or more next year at this time. Is there anyone else that has any business before the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. This week we received correspondence for EcoMaine with the recycling totals for December 2011 and July through December 2011. We received a letter from the Massabesic High School principal, Christian Elkington, regarding accreditation of the Massabesic High School. We have correspondence from Time Warner Cable. It's a routine notice, reference broadcaster agreements and programming. We received a copy of an article in the Portland Press Herald Bill Nemitz article featuring Esther Smith, who we briefly discussed last week, which is a person that lived in the community that had written a book. We have a confidential legal summons within our packet and a confidential letter from Attorney Cole regarding a settlement on a court case. We have Representative Libby's newsletter, and we have the Treasurer's weekly financial reports. If anyone is interested in viewing any of those items, with the exceptions of items 5 and 6, which by law are confidential, then please contact the administrative assistant to the town administrator or the town administrator, and we'll see that those are made available to you. Moving on to reports. Any of the selectmen have anything to report? Go ahead.
I think I sent in a report last week. The York County Commissioners met last Wednesday and rejected the Budget Committee's budget that was put forth. They rejected it based on the fact there was some money in there for the York County shelter. They did not want that money in there, so they've asked that that be removed, and they added back in money for an ortho imaging mapping program. They've sent that back to the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee will meet on Wednesday and discuss what the commissioners have asked, and if the Budget Committee agrees to make changes, there'll be another public hearing, or if the Budget Committee decides to stick with the budget that we already put forward, then that sets the budget for the year for the county. What's interesting with that, though, is that even if the Budget Committee opts to leave in funding for York County Food Pantry, once the budget goes to the commissioners, if the commissioners opt not to write that check, then they may not, and they've done that in the past where there was funding put in the budget for external agencies and the commissioners just didn't send the money in and it rolled into general fund. So that will be Wednesday night. The Budget Committee will be meeting again. The other thing that I wanted to comment on, I guess that there's been some scuttle at one of the local rumor mills that I'm illegally serving on the Budget Committee because I have a conflict of interest because I work for the District Attorney's Office. I do not work for the District Attorney's Office. I work for a police department. However, I do have frequent contact with the District Attorney's Office, as do several other people that are on the York County Budget Committee. I'm serving because I like to be involved. I like to serve my community. And if anybody has any questions about anything about why I'm serving and what I choose to do, they are free to call me. My phone number is listed in the phone book.
I've been approached on that issue regarding the food pantry, and it was relayed to me that the question is not so much not wanting to support the food pantry itself, but rather I guess some interesting figures showed up where the director and some other people are receiving six-figure salaries in that, and they have opposition not to help feed those in need, but to pay salaries for those that are running the program. So I don't know if that's something that you can consider during your budget deliberations on that. Anything else on that, Tim?
Nope.
No? Dennis, what have you?
Met with the Transfer Station Committee last night, if you want to pass those down. One of the concerns that is now surfaced, as you know, we have 3 silver bullets, actually 2 silver bullets around town and 1 can at the middle school. And what this little spreadsheet says is that if you look at the poll of the Lions silver bullet over the past 5 months, we're getting less than a ton on average of waste in this last months of pull. And same thing here at the town office, we're not fully loaded. We've gone from one extreme to the other. We went from an extreme of they were always full and stuff was falling out of them, to now we're sending D&E to go pick them up and haul them to EcoMaine with, a ton or a ton and a half or maybe 2 tons at the most on them. The other concern, which is a concern, number one concern, I think we need to sit down with D&E, because we now have a compactor at the town transfer station that these silver bullets should be dumped into. They shouldn't be going to EcoMaine. So we're paying $130 a pull for a ton to go to EcoMaine, or 2 tons. And we should be coming up with some price that says, okay, Dean, we want you to take it from South Waterboro to East Waterboro, or from Waterboro Center to East Waterboro, dump it in the compactor, and then ultimately we can get our 8 or 9 ton in the full compact and make economic sense of pulling them in there. The bigger concern that I think, at one time we had a meeting, and I'm not sure that the whole board was involved, but certainly there were a number of us. I think probably David, you and I met with the committee and the business manager from RSU 57, and there was an agreement that while we were trying to stimulate recycling in the middle school, that we would pay for any removal of that, and we would provide them a can, and we would remove that when it was full. What's happened to it now is they're filling it, but they're not breaking the cardboard down and all of that stuff, so it's all just bulky in there, and you can see those last pulls, have been less than optimum, to say the least. So what we need to stimulate is 2 things here, and we can put it maybe on things for next week's agenda when we get to it, is that there's a couple things that have to happen. We need to sit with D&E and talk about what's the price change from hauling them into EcoMaine to hauling them to the transfer station and dumping them in the system there. And I think the other piece in which we need to stimulate is a meeting with the new business manager, because this is the only recyclable stuff that we get involved in. The rest of it all goes to EcoMaine on their dime. Ultimately, it's the 6 towns' dime. And what we were trying to do is to stimulate this thing. Well, we've now been well over a year, almost a year and a half. Right, we started a year ago, August or something like that. So, so there's a couple of things that we need to do to kind of streamline our operation and optimize our hauling cost. So just make everybody aware of that. And really the message back to EcoMaine, at RSU, is they have to, if we're gonna continue to pay for it to be pulled, then they're gonna have to stop breaking boxes down and stacking as much stuff in there as they can. If not, then, game's over. We shouldn't be, if you look at even this fiscal year, we're, 6 pulls at $130 a pull. So that's all coming out of the dime, out of the town. And I guess one could say, well, we're contributing to the, the enhancement of recycling at the school, but I think they got to work with us a little bit. And part of this, I think, is, Fred and Frank and what's the business manager's name? Have gone off to
Dean.
the old one.
Oh,
Went off to Brockman,
Bill
went off to RSU 6, and we really need to deal with new folks. So I'll get with Clint and Nancy, and we'll see if we can at least get a meeting with the three of us and them, and I don't know if we need the whole committee, but to start to talk about what's the future of us continuing to pull that can down at the middle school. So, but it'll be, when we get to the adding things to next week's agenda, I'll kind of bring this up, so.
The breaking down the boxes should be fairly easy. There's only a couple people. I mean, it's the custodians that are bringing the boxes out to the trash. You don't have a whole bunch of people doing that. You get the classrooms bringing paper maybe to a central area, and then someone bringing it out to recycle. But I think each school has a couple of custodians, a couple, one on each shift. Those people take the extra 3 or 4 minutes when they take a load of trash out to break those boxes down, and it's done. So, that's your business manager or your superintendent meeting with your custodians and saying, please break down the boxes before you put them into the, pretty easy to do.
Okay. The only other thing that came out is there's still 10 or 12 compost units down that we've got in storage that are new, that we'll put on, we're gonna do the ad and try to sell those again this year. But we'd like to, and I guess this might be just a Nancy decision, but we need to put one back in the lobby here so that people can look at what it is. And for whatever reason, it got pulled out of here years ago because it was somewhat of an inconvenience for it to be here. I'm not sure why, but so we'll work that with her.
How much are those?
How much are they, Clint?
$42.50 right now.
Is that with the wing dinger?
No, that's just for the unit itself.
The wing dinger or whatever it is what, $50? No, it's not $50. It's
Pitchfork will be the same thing.
right. I think if you got everything right, it was like 50 some odd dollars for the whole works. So we've got 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever's down there in your shack or the
I think
building.
there's 11 there.
Okay.
I think there's one in the other
And
building.
rather than buying another 20,
Someone's way first.
I was gonna get rid of these, and if we gotta go get a couple, just like, we had other towns come and get 2 or 3 from us last year, so we may feed off from a few other towns to, if we sell more than 11. So. Other than that, that's all I got.
Any follow-up on that at all, Dave? No, okay. Does this go along with, this was left, is that something you left here about the containers?
No.
I know that you brought that up at a previous meeting about.
Yeah, in
I
fact,
think David might have.
That was from Pete. He's been wanting to camouflage it, so he left it that because Wells had let some kids paint on them and make them, beautify them, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got, I'll show you this after, Dave. It's one that was at EcoMaine that the South Portland students did, but.
If I'm mistaken, I thought Dennis had brought it up. Okay. Anything further from any member of the board? Okay, our town administrator is unfortunately not with us tonight. She has received word from her physician that she has pneumonia, so she will be out, and we wish her a speedy recovery. Next on the agenda is a report from the 2020 Master Planning Committee, and I believe Mr. Urscher is here representing them.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm going to speak on behalf of the 2020 committee and bring you up to date of the progress that the committee has made The handout that I've given you, I tried to put it in a format that's compliant with the Selectmen's new goals for 2012, to kind of make everything goal-oriented and to give some progress as to how we're moving along on committee activities. So I've broken down to 4 primary goals that the committee set as a whole, and there was total consensus on these goals, incidentally. The first you're well aware of, because Woodward and Kern did their presentation before you and delivered the final energy chapter. That completes that phase of it, but there's a procedural phase and ultimately an audit phase that we have to complete, both for the federal government and the state government. And I'm processing that paperwork right now. Haven't heard back from the state. I check in with them on a weekly basis, just so it doesn't drop between the cracks. And hopefully that process should be done within the next couple months, working with their grant administrator at the state level. The second goal was to initiate the next chapter, which deals with village planning. It's something a lot that the board has heard a lot about over the last couple of years. That's up and running. The first of 2 teams from the Conway School of Landscape Design have been in town. We're fortunate to have 4 students rather than the 2 that I thought we originally would. We're going to have 2 students for their first term and then another 2 students for the second term. That project is up and running. They've been in town. Selectman Dave has had an opportunity to meet the first team, and they'll be meeting with the 2020 committee on February 1st, and also having a series of stakeholder meetings in the 4 village areas. Just as a refresher, the conclusion was of the 2020 committee, again with 100% consensus, was that we should look at 4 village areas, not one as a model, but 4 different centers, that being south, east, center, and north. So all 4 of those areas have been visited by the students, and they're in the research stage. Again, stakeholder meetings will be held in February and March, and it's progressing quite well. I think the town's going to be quite fortunate and a lucky beneficiary, particularly when it gets into the graphic stage, which is phase 2, which would start up in late March and in April. Are there any questions on that piece? Because that's up and running right now. The next thing that we've discovered, it's kind of an internal discovery here in the planning department, but it fit nicely in the work that we're doing with the master planning, is that we really don't have an up-to-date, current, public accessible zoning map. And we have one in a draft stage, and so one of our goals on the committee is to move it from draft to final, and also to take it from the barely legible maps that we have now and make them web-based. And so our goal is, within the next couple months, is to clean up as much as we possibly can on that, of any errors that we've discovered on it. The biggest challenge that we have is that the parcelization of the tax maps has a goodly degree of inaccuracies on it. And so the historical lots, when they were laid out on the town tax parcel maps, don't always fit. And so as we make those discoveries, we're cleaning those up. So we're going to clean up as many as we possibly can of old historical parcels, rectify the lines, and do whatever deed research is necessary, and have a final zoning map that we can get in a PDF file that we can put on the town's website. I think that'd be of great benefit, both for investors that might be looking in the community, but also the public at large who wants to know what zone they are in, or their neighbors are in. Additionally, as part of updating that zoning map, then we're going to take some of the work that the students have done, and then we're going to create 4 large-scale maps, so that when we begin to talk about the village areas, we can see what the preliminary boundaries are of those proposed village areas. So that'll also be a product that will result from it. And then lastly, we're we spent the last couple months working on some guiding principles and some anticipated costs of what it would take to do a both accurate and an up-to-date infrastructure chapter. And we've submitted that as part of our operating budget, which is the bulk of the operating budget, and defined on a step-by-step process of what it would take to do a complete infrastructure chapter. One of our first discoveries was, as a committee, was that this is going to fit into the communication model that the selectmen are talking about, because we can't think of another committee or department or board of selectmen or a town administrator that won't benefit from this particular chapter. It's a monster of a chapter because there's so much work to be done in it. And it deals with a lot of technicalities, obviously, of water, road infrastructure, subsurface systems, transportation systems, all rolled together. So that was one of our goals to accomplish. We've actually went through sort of a mock analysis of what it would take to do. Obviously, it's going to involve retaining a consultant to assist the committee, because a lot of this deals with civil engineering, obviously. But there are a great number of beneficiaries, not only the committees, but also the road commissioner will be certainly a direct beneficiary of it. And it's also going to put us in a position that's going to make it, it's going to bring us to the front of the class, if you will, for any future infrastructure grants that the town may be eligible for. And it's my forecast that after we get through all this presidential stuff, that you'll definitely be seeing infrastructure grants coming your way. They'll be competitive, but they'll be grants of necessity rather than grants of for other reasons.
Tom, on the village corridor maps, the preliminary maps, when those are done, are you going to have those mounted on like poster board or?
Most definitely, and we'll have them both in a digital format as well as a hard format. With the selectmen's wishes, we certainly can get those, mounted and displayed, and we'll be using them for the stakeholder meetings too.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. It'd be nice if you had them out in the lobby when people came in, if they could look at them, and maybe that would generate, with the traffic flow that's in and out of the lobby, maybe seeing something tangible like that would generate some interest when you start having your stakeholder meetings.
That's an excellent idea. We'll definitely do that. Definitely do that. We'll also define them as preliminary, because there's so many boards that need to take a look at these, and most particularly the planning board, as to putting demarcations or lines around anything is always a challenge. Where do you start? Where do you end? But we'll define them as preliminary zoning maps, subject to, all the board's approvals. But we'll definitely do that. It's a good idea. Good idea. So I feel as though the committee, and the committee is being co-chaired. Bob and I co-chair it, so that if I have a difficulty in getting from one meeting to the next meeting, in order to get, because frequently the planning board meetings are on the same night as the 2020 meetings. And so to avoid any conflicts, I've been trying to have Bob pick up at 7 o'clock, and then I can come over here for the 7 o'clock planning board meeting. But I feel we're making good progress, and always open for new ideas. I also wanted to compliment the Board of Selectmen. At one of our last meetings, 3 of the 5 selectmen showed up to see what we were doing. and that pleased the board, that pleased the committee. It gave us a good opportunity to kind of exchange some ideas. So thank you. Appreciate that the selectmen took the time and came to the meeting.
This meeting, February 1st, is at 5 rather than 6, Tom?
Yes, thanks, Dave, for bringing that up. Because the students will be in town and that meeting's apt to be a little bit longer, and there'll be sort of a meeting of inquiry. And I just kind of like to announce to the public to if you're free and you'd like to both meet the students and you have questions or ideas or suggestions or comments, that'd be a good meeting to attend. All of our meetings obviously are open to the public, but we're starting a little bit earlier. Typically we start at 6, and that'll give an opportunity for us to get going at 5, and then also for myself to get back here at 7. We have a planning board meeting that night also. Thanks, Dave.
On the third goal down, with regard to the mapping, is our IS director an integral component of that? I know that Dave has gone over and met with the IS director in Sanford regarding GIS, because one of the things that we did talk about was the thing that you'd mentioned, is that the mapping of individual lots doesn't necessarily coincide with some of the other maps that we have, but they have taken steps over there to make sure that they're all congruent now. And I believe there's an individual at the state level that's been doing that I believe Dave is aware of. And so I just want to know if he's part of this component here on the mapping portion of it.
From the state GIS?
No, that Dave is a component here.
That was Tom from Gorham, I believe it is, or Portland. You knew who the fellow was. Him and also Woodard and Curran, they kind of work hand in hand, developing. Tom develops the layers, they host and do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's the part that they do. Sanford did it exactly that way. They farmed it, Wells farmed it out like that. Because Tom, I forget his last name, but he does this all day, all week, all year. I mean, it's a very precise specialty to get those things lined up. And he's the guy that Woodard and Curran goes to. He's who Sanford went to. He's who Wells has gone to. So he lays those things out and makes it all work and gel.
What you're referring to would be phase 2. What we're doing in this would be phase 1. We're basically just updating the zoning map, attempting to do some partialization correction. And then if the GIS component in the CIP is approved by the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and Town Meeting, then we'd move into that next phase, which would either involve Tom, Woodward and Curran, whatever GIS specialty consultants were available. But what Sanford did is they contracted those services out. They spent a goodly amount of money because Sanford had the same issues that Waterboro does, that Lyman does, that virtually all communities do. That when you get into GIS, the precision needs to be so accurate. It needs to be, within 100 parts of an inch. So everything has to line up precisely. That's what Sanford did, is they subcontracted out to this individual Tom and Woodward and Curran. But that would be our phase 2. What I'm referring to in this goal is basically just to take all the updating zonings, bring it into a parcelization map that has a relatively strong degree of accuracy, get it as a PDF, and put it on the town website. Then if the GIS component is approved by all the parties, then we'll move into that next layer of detail so that we can create the layers. This map will not have layers, it'll just have the zoning.
I guess in part, maybe I had confused you a little. What I'm really driving at here is our IS director an integral part of the 2020 discussions regarding this, because ultimately he'll be administering the website upon which these PDF files are going to reside. So
The answer to that is
I kind of
yes.
don't want him way off here in the dark and then the 2020 committee formulating these plans over here. I would rather see him, be a component of the discussion so that...
The answer to your question is absolutely yes. In fact, Dave has been to one of the 2020 meetings to build some clarification. And then as we get closer to doing this, two things would happen. Dave would be able to attend our 2020 meeting when we got into actually doing this, which will hopefully start up next month. And then lastly, when it becomes web-based, our engineering consultant will come in and we'll have a training session for Dave, Patty, Tina, myself, and anyone else, any of the Board of Selectmen that would like to attend. And that's part of the deal, where we'd have an in-house training when we set up that file. But Dave definitely would be involved throughout the whole process. Absolutely necessary.
John?
Yes, John?
I'm not sure what goal 4 means. I've read it 4 or 5 times, and I'm not sure what it is. I mean, to establish the guiding principles and anticipated costs associated with defined tasks to initiate and complete the infrastructure chapter of the new master plan. I understand what the goal would be to complete the infrastructure chapter. That's pretty simple. You got a chapter, and now you don't. And at the end of the meeting the goal, you got one. But to establish guidelines, guiding principles, is the goal to come up with principles? Is the goal to come up with costs and principles? Cost principles define tasks?
John, if I may, let me reframe it and wordsmith it a bit. To establish the cost for an operating budget based on the task, what tasks are necessary to perform and complete an infrastructure chapter. And so what we've defined is what we think are the tentative costs and what we think will be the 12 to 13 different tasks. Those tasks were defined, and they're now part of the proposed, the submittal to the operating budget for 2020.
So has that goal been done?
Yes.
What?
As far as the,
I mean, do you have a budget set up with what it's going to cost to
Yes.
do the infrastructure chapter?
Yes.
Okay. So then you've met that goal.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, everything that you see here is either completed or about to be completed.
Okay. So what about the infrastructure chapter? When would that be?
When would it start and when would it be completed?
Yeah.
It would start after town meeting, because town meeting would determine the extent of monies for this particular chapter.
In that infrastructure chapter, what does it have in it?
It's fairly comprehensive, John. It's going to deal with water infrastructure, road infrastructure, cumulative impacts of subsurface systems, both state and local road infrastructure. It's very complicated.
Okay, so it's not just town-owned buildings you're looking at here. You're looking at,
It's looking at everything except for town facilities. If the Board of Selectmen felt that in asset management, that infrastructure should include the town's assets, and those assets are facilities and land, then we could make that as part of that component also.
so what you're looking at here is this over the next 10, 20 years, what the water needs are going to be for the town? What
The forecast would be for 20 years.
20 years?
Yep.
Okay, so you're looking at,
We're looking at from 2013 to 2033.
so when you talk about water, is that household water and business use of water, or?
Correct.
Okay. And
All
then the
uses of
roads,
water.
or what the roads needs are going to be in 20 years?
All 60-plus miles, plus whatever else is anticipated or on the drawing boards from subdivisions currently.
Okay.
I mean, right now, it's fairly easy for us to put our arms around it. We've got 2 or 3 subdivisions that are sort of cliffhangers or at the almost final approval stage. You have Carthage that has been a cliffhanger for years. The last proposal had nearly 7 miles of road frontage. So, those are things that have to be analyzed in the big picture. Sooner or later, the Carthage lands would be built out. They'll either be built out in 200-acre subdivided parcels of 10 to 15 acres each. If something isn't looked at in that particular case, I'm just using it as an illustration because it equals about 7.3% of the whole holdings of acreage in the community. And so I always go back to it as a major holding in the community because it's over 7%. That's almost all contiguous lands. So in that forecasting out, we have to look at, both from a planning and an engineering perspective, do large tracts of land like that get broken up into 200-acre tracts and then further subdivided over a longer period of time, as opposed to nothing happening, as opposed to a proposal to develop the whole tract, which was the most recent proposal. And then you back into all of that, what are the costs of infrastructure as a result of a development like that? So when you look at infrastructure as a whole, you have to look at all of the subdivision activity, all both forecasted and on the books and not built out, as well as anticipated development in the future, as well as the 60-plus miles. Now, I use 60-plus. I'm not sure exactly how many, Tim, Joe, how many?
62.
62, okay, fairly close, of existing mileage. It's
Aren't these subdivisions hampered somewhat by the current wording of the growth ordinance? In that the whole subdivision can't be completed, it has to be completed in small phases over an extended period of time?
True. And the economic realities are that even if a large tract of land, that doesn't stop a large tract of land of being totally subdivided, just it's built out over time, it's phased over time. But that's yet another issue to talk about too, where the growth ordinance goes, and I think that joint meeting with yourselves and the planning board will be beneficial.
If we're looking down the road 20 years on infrastructure, I would think it would be prudent to include buildings and ownings of the town, just so that the public knows what is here and what needs to be looked at as far as additional or combinations or planning, period. I don't know what how the other members feel, but I mean, it is a part of the infrastructure.
I'd be in agreement with Dave on this issue because, you know, what's the needs of government 20 years from now? Certainly, I would think that this building will be outgrown in that period of time, so we need to have some type of roadmap of where government's going.
Well, I mean, you know, in 20 years, you're looking at what's fire and rescue going to look like? Are we going to have a police department? What it's going to look like and what sort of facilities it needs? The town hall and its growth, recreation facilities and what that's going to look like, and tied into probably the library and meeting places and things like that. So you got some, in 20 years, there's probably a lot that's going to be happening. And so they would want to see in the comprehensive plan, a plan for the towns being at 8,000 now and in 20 years maybe being at 12, 13,000 or something like that. And what are the facilities going to be needed in order to service all those people? It's going to mean some infrastructure and approximately when is it going to be needed?
This is a valuable conversation, and I appreciate it because it shows that the infrastructure chapter can keep on growing and growing. And I think what we'll need to do when we get to that stage is determine if the Board of Selectmen would like this all rolled into infrastructure, or to have a subcategory of that infrastructure being the town's facility assets, okay, as sort of a subchapter of it. It's really critical to know what the facility assets are or what they may be in the future, as well as the forecast of what those costs of those future assets might be, both in the construction of them as well as the maintenance of them.
I don't know how you'd set up the chapters on this, you know, but that is definitely a need in this plan, whether it's part of a infrastructure chapter, if it's a separate chapter under itself, or however you set that up is probably not as important to me as the fact that it's dealt with.
I think it's a bigger, not than just sitting here going back and forth with Tom. We need the committee if we're gonna have that kind of conversation. Because I think if we're gonna truly have a workshop, then let's have a workshop.
Well, I think it's important to get a sense of support
Yep.
from us.
Yep.
Do I have consensus with all 5 selectmen that this is a critical piece that should be either part and parcel of the infrastructure chapter or a subdivision of it? Okay. What I'll do is I'll bring this back to the committee, we'll look at it, and anything we can do to benefit the Board of Selectmen. I mean, we might even be able to, if the selectmen so desire, create sort of 2 alternative outlines of what would be the components of each of these, with asset management or just with roads, water, subsurface.
Anybody have any further questions for Tom?
But I'll make sure I bring this back to the committee, and we have a good, healthy discussion on it. Thank you, I appreciate those ideas, those are good.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate your report. Okay, now we'll move on to new business. Discuss scheduling a meeting with the Charter Review Commission. What is the pleasure of the board?
Their next meeting is what, Monday,
Yes.
the 6th? Which will be almost 2 weeks away. The way that Christine, that we can get a, maybe we can get with Diane, see if it can be, I don't know what everybody else's feeling is, but that's a Monday night, that's their meeting night.
The next meeting is January 30th. The very next meeting.
Next meeting, next Monday.
And then
So
it'll be
they've,
February
so
6th.
they've got one the next 2 Monday nights?
Yes. One on January 30th and again on February 6th.
Do we need to meet with the Charter Review Committee, or can we just have a report out by the chair as to where they are and what the...
I think that there's 2 or 3 big pieces of what they're gonna present, and I think the discussion has to be, is, as a committee, are they willing to put one of those pieces up at the risk of losing the other pieces, right? So I don't know if you want to do that with the chairman or you want to do that with the committee. I would think we'd want to get the committee in the room and,
One is kind of a workshop and back and forth, the other one's where are you?
Yeah.
What are your plans?
right, but I
And
think,
a response to those plans.
right, but I think that it really becomes an issue of some give and take here of our feedback to them, their feedback to us. Right, I mean, they've been at this thing for some time, but
They must have a pretty good feeling as to what their support is, you know,
Well,
what
I
their
would-
plan is now. It's getting on.
But it's like any other charter change, there's gonna be some fairly significant issues, or emotional events, as I like to call them, if they go through. And then there's some just, okay, you know, that makes sense, right? So you're gonna risk, you know, I guess that's what I'm saying is that, has there been any sort of a risk analysis by the committee to say, here's a big piece that we're trying to change, and are we willing to risk losing all the rest of the changes because of that?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I'm sure they've been through it, because you know that if they put 3 major, fairly controversial items on the, all in one package, the chances of it passing are much less than if you put one package on, and then put another one on another year, another one on the year
Yeah, I mean,
after.
the problem
and
is,
dealing
it's
with
a-
them
it's a
separately. I
very
think they probably
complex-
understand that.
It's a very complicated process,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't happen in a year's time. You have to, you have to have that discussion. You bring it to, I mean, you have to have a charter commission, which is a vote of the people. And you really gotta wait until there's another significant vote, because you have to have 30% of the last gubernatorial election present to have that vote. So this is not anything that can be done, I mean, it's like a 2 or a 4 year cycle to get the thing done, so. And so, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, I think we need to really have that discussion of, and maybe, now that they're formulating where they're going, and get some feedback from us, and, I think if you could take a poll in the town of Waterboro, you should have a poll to see what the general consensus is, but I'm not sure you can do that. There's a lot of unofficial polls, right?
Well,
Over coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
Right, at Dunkin' Donuts or at
Merrill
Merrill's
Store
or-
and Lakeside.
I mean, if you have the chair comes in, gives us a 15, 20-minute, or whatever report. We respond to that report. The chair brings it back to the committee. Or you have a workshop and let them as a group speak to what they want, and then we as a group respond. I don't know if if the workshop buys us anything.
Fine, just have the chair come in, huh?
I'm thinking it may be less people involved if the chair responds out, this is where we are, this is where we're going. And we say, and we give our feedback.
I'm fine with that too. I think the concern that, the reason we kind of have it on tonight's agenda was the conversation that we had last week was, where are we, right? And I understand that they've, it's gonna be a November vote, but,
November's not that far away.
no, but, and that's what I'm saying is that we should at least start to understand, and they did break in the summer, and we asked for a year's extension because of the voting process, but I think we ought to at least start to get the ducks in a row if we've got to do that, or at least understand where we are.
Gordon, have you been sitting in on those? Who's?
On some of those, and I haven't been to the last couple of meetings, so.
I'm just wondering if you had the whole committee, wouldn't you get a better feel for, not necessarily the chairman, obviously they're going in a certain direction, but is there, various
And I don't care, I mean,
philosophies.
if we don't want to pull it together, then, the onus is on us as individuals to attend one of their meetings. I don't have a problem doing that either.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, if there's still a whole bunch of different views out there within that commission, and they haven't started to put it together, it's getting pretty close to the time that they've got to come up with a package. And I was just thinking, if they're fairly far along on this, they know as a committee, as a commission, that where they're going, and they can report out on that. But if they don't know where they're going, and then we get a feeling of how individual members are, then it's
Have
it's
we
getting
had-
late.
I mean, I don't think we've had them in here on a Tuesday night for the chair to report out, so maybe that's the first step, and then, so, we're not having anybody report out next week, because we've got the workshop after on the budget review. Maybe the 7th, we knock the EMA, fire department, and sheriff off a week and bring the charter.
I think the agendas are already out for February, so already the committees have already been notified. I think you'd need to,
We could schedule them as an appointment.
You can do that. I'm not sure that the committees react that quickly, but if you think they do, then that's fine. But
I mean, can we do this in a half hour at the beginning of a selectmen's meeting?
Yeah, I don't think it's more than having them report out like Tom just did, if we bring them in here.
I think I would at least like to have the chair come in first, give us that initial blush of where they are, and then from there, if they seem like they're pretty solid on what they want to do, then we move on with maybe having a workshop with the entire committee. But I think the first step would be have the chair come in, give us a report, and get an idea of, are they ready for that sit down with us, or maybe they're not.
I like your idea, Christine. I think we ought to schedule the chairman by appointment on our meeting on February 7th.
Yeah, right. Have a meeting on the 6th, yeah. Yeah.
We all in agreement on that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss the budget process and schedule. What is the pleasure of the board on that?
Well, given the town administrator's not here tonight, and I think we're probably already behind where we agreed to be with the process. You know, in her email that she sent out, she said that you could start pulling stuff together, but she's not gonna be in for a week, but, and I don't have the schedule in front of me, that consolidated schedule, but we're behind the 8 ball already.
Yeah, the copy of the schedule I found lists February 1st for the selectmen to start reviewing the budget, and then February 8th to send it to the finance committee.
Yeah, well.
When
for
does
us
it go to the
review
finance
on
committee?
On the 1st, and then give it to them on the 8th isn't gonna work.
When does it go to the finance committee?
February 8th,
And we're not reviewing it until the 1st?
right.
And we gotta get it to the finance committee by the 8th?
Ain't gonna happen.
I think we need to get going.
I think we should already be going.
Can we back up for a second on the charter review? Diane Holden sent an email and said, could we look at that after February 20th? She would suggest after February 20th. So maybe the 21st instead of the 7th.
Did you indicate a specific reason in there?
They have at least one member that's not going to be at apparently a couple of meetings, and then they're going to be revisiting everything once he's back. So she suggests February 20th. After February 20th would be the better date.
Have to go with it.
We agreed? All right,
So maybe set it for the 21st.
change that to the 21st.
I just happened to pull up, getting back to the finance thing. I did have the Appendix D that we had on this thing. Town administrator to present to the Board of Selectmen the budget request. That should have happened the first week of January. Okay? And the Board of Selectmen and TA develop preliminary budgets by the first part of February. And a preliminary budget submitted to the Finance Committee by the first week of February, so we're a month behind. So, we need to giddy up.
Yes. You know, in thinking in the past, we've had 3 or 4 big meetings, and we're talking about 3-4 hour meetings in order to get ready for the finance committee. So I think in front of us, before we go to the finance committee, we're looking at probably 12 hours of meetings.
We usually do at least, a Saturday. Saturday, those usually work pretty good for us when everybody's fresh and hasn't been working all day, for those of us that aren't retired.
Or semi-retired.
Or semi-retired. So, I mean, somehow we gotta make up a month. And I don't think any of us have laid eyes on the consolidated,
We haven't been given it.
so. And, I mean, we accept, this is the selectmen's policy, and we voted it in. you
Now,
know,
I mean, should the five of us been a little bit sharper here, or should we have been prompted here that, hey, this is coming up? I mean, we know the budget's coming up, but as far as the deadlines and dates and,
well, I mean, we can make all the calendars we want. You know, I'm not sure that the five of us are gonna manage the calendar. That's why we have a town administrator, and she has an administrative assistant now.
that's what I'm wondering, you know?
So, I guess my question is where is the budget?
I'm sure if somebody's listening at home, they're probably gonna be texting us shortly and letting us know where it is.
Well,
Well, she sent us a message that said she's gonna hopefully stop in tomorrow, pick up her work, double check everything, and then send it on to Christina so she can start making copies and putting the notebooks together.
I mean, I think we can schedule a meeting, and our first meeting, and we got to have a budget before that meeting.
yeah, and I mean, right now, you're looking at probably week from Saturday, if we do it on a Saturday. If we do it on, we've been, you know, we did it Thursday evenings and we did it Saturdays, so.
Yep.
And I think we were more constructive in one sitting on a Saturday and go at it for 4 hours or so and see where we
So,
are.
looking at February 11th,
Either that or February 4th.
February 4th, I would prefer.
oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna
If we just, if we do it the 11th,
No,
we're continuing to
No.
get further behind.
Okay.
The real task is that the finance committee is supposed to present their recommendations to us by the end of the first week of March.
They've got to get our,
Yeah.
they've got to
So back off a month to at least give them a month or 5 weeks to work it.
So what if we say, today's the 24th, what if we say that we're gonna meet, if Nancy's gonna be putting it together and back next week, what if we meet next Monday night, the 30th, with the anticipation that we're gonna get the preliminary budget? At least give us what is done, so we can get started on the departments that are done and get working on that. Then we have our selectmen's meeting Tuesday, then we say we look at meeting on the 2nd and then the 4th. That will give us 3 nights next week and, you know, hopefully give us a good chunk of it done.
On the 30th, I get the Charter Review Commission. I really don't want to miss another one.
Well, either that or let's come in at 5:30 or whatever next Tuesday night and at least have the books ready to do an initial review.
Yep.
I mean, we can't do a lot of discussion in a half hour, but she can certainly present it to us in a half hour.
Well, what about the 30th, Monday night, and putting in 3 hours there?
Well,
Gordon's not
he's gonna be at the
I won't be
charter,
available till
he's a
at
member of the
7.
charter.
what if we got here at 5?
If we get here at 5, we could do a couple hours and we could
Yeah,
go over there.
that'd work with me if we can get them together by then. So,
Could let you know more after I talk with you.
okay, so
tomorrow.
I guess what we're requesting is that we have them by 5 o'clock
Monday at
Monday night,
5.
and we will be here.
What would be so detrimental about giving the raw budget to the Finance Committee and have them working on it at the same time that we're working on it, so that we
Yeah.
can only supply, so when it comes down to it, we can supply them with what our
Well,
recommendations are.
that's a kind of a two-edged sword, right? I mean, yeah, you work them in parallel, but they don't know what we're making for changes.
We did that one year and it did not
was
work
a-
out
it was a
very well
disaster.
at
I mean,
all.
every week
Right,
we
no,
were
just-
sending them this change and
Yeah.
that change, and they're going,
They were confused, we were confused, and there was a lot of tensions that year.
Well, I don't mean we necessarily have to exchange every little item back and forth. When we finalize our product, we give the final product to them, and they'll have already had time to hash through a lot of it, and then they can come back and compare theirs against ours.
Yeah, I
But
think,
If it was
Ours may be
problematic,
very
then-
different, once it passes through us, it may be very different. And if you give them a budget, the raw budget, and they spend all that time working on
Yeah.
it to find out, oh, we already took this out, took that out, I think the consensus was that they wasted a lot of their time.
so the effort is that it's still not a finished budget, okay?
Right.
It's a preliminary budget. We're still gonna work some of those issues after we give, I mean, we're not gonna give them the raw budget, we're gonna give them a kind of a.
Selectmen's budget.
A selectmen's budget that's probably still subject to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you do it raw, then what happens, you get two different groups putting time in, and the chances are of being committed to what you've done, and then the chances are for not working together effectively is greater if you both put in a bunch of time and you've also already set the clay is around your feet has started to solidify.
Okay, so 5 o'clock on Monday, and what about Thursday? The 2nd.
Groundhog Day.
That is your rain date in case of inclement weather Thursday, but I haven't. heard
Thursday
of
looks,
that.
Thursday looks good.
We can
so.
let's
You can
still
set it
schedule
up,
it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
What time?
6, 7, whatever, I mean,
Can we do it earlier than that?
5?
Yeah, 5.
Dennis, is he gonna be able to get out there?
Yeah. So 5:30 to, we'll say,
Are we doing 5?
7:30, or 5 to 7 or something, we'll just, you're
5
gonna
to
have to
7
post
we'll
something,
plan
right?
on. That's on the 2nd.
We'll have to
On the
post Monday night.
30th, it was 5 to 7 again. And then we're gonna meet on
You
the
get the
4th.
4th for a big one. Saturday the 4th,
Yeah, donuts,
or like an 8 to 12
Yeah.
with donuts.
muffins, sticky buns.
8 AM?
Yes. So Mickey's hand is on the... Okay.
I will bring something in a crock pot on Monday, how's that? Because I get hungry about that time.
Okay, you can bring some food for Monday. Okay, I'll get some food.
Okay, so all in agreement on that?
Sounds good.
Okay. I know, we'll move along, because I know that there are a number of us anxious to hear Governor LePage's speech tonight. Discuss and vote on committee appointments. What is the pleasure of the board on that? As our packet indicates that there is one for the Library Board of Trustees. I'm not sure that, okay, it doesn't indicate that this is a reappointment, so it looks like a new one. So we would schedule this to have this person meet with us before one of our meetings, as we have our custom in the past. Or does everybody know, or
Next-
I'm the only
I
one that
don't
doesn't?
know.
Next
I don't know.
Tuesday? Nick?
The 31st, we have our budget review committee, but I think we can do that. Is that-
No more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Why don't we schedule that for January 31st to have that person come in?
5:45?
Yes, 5:45 would be fine.
That's the 31st.
And then we'd have to set that as to vote on that at that meeting as well. Okay, moving along, discuss and vote on the supplemental tax assessment. Mr. Assessor.
Chairman, board. Annual thing that we do in January is putting together the supplemental assessments that were omitted from the tax rolls or removed from the tax rolls because there was some sort of a error. You want me to go through all of them, or did you have enough time to review them? And if you have any questions, I can answer them.
We've reviewed them, but if you could maybe encapsulate those for
Okay.
those viewing tonight.
Sure. First one will be Roger Deering. This is a case where had applied for a farmland application. The tax bill was produced and he had changed his mind and withdrew his application. So what happens is the bill was void and another one is going out, which is this one. Second one is Richard and Jean Lyden. This is related to the carpenter. The lot, the land was divided, 2 5-acre parcels, one was A and one was B. They closed that way on A and B. We have reversed B and A. So what we need to do is, again, void the bill. This one was, I think it's something that we could have in a normal year run okay, but because they closed so specifically, the financial institutions want to make sure that he bought A and the carpenters get B or vice versa. So that's what that is. Claire C. Brunel, this is the one where she merged the 2 lots on the lake into one. I think we had that discussion this summer. What we need to do is void one in order to create one because they're not going to be the same dollar amounts. In fact, it'll be slightly less. Violet M. Woodsum is a case of assessed to the wrong owner because of a title, not problem, but misunderstanding on who the owners were. The lot was to be divided, and this is one way to rectify it. This will create a tax bill for this is Jason and Emily Nadeau. This is a case along with Mary Nelson. They're related. This is a case of an address change that also changed the account. We didn't notice it until it was done. Therefore, it created a tax bill going to the wrong owners side by side. These lots are on Pole Line Road, the two apartment houses. So we voted both bills and supplement them to correct. And all of these people, by the way, are aware of the situation that we voided the bills and debated them and supplementing it. Paulette Davis, this is a case of mistaken identity. We picked up on East Shore Road. Properties are kind of tight in there, and when I went in there, I picked up an extra building and put it on Mrs. Davis's lot. It was a garage with a finished second floor. It's almost another entire studio-type garage. That error was corrected by voiding the bill and then creating another bill for her that would be the correct one.
Now, what about the correct billing to the property that you built at Davis to whoever owned it?
Well, it was a case where they already had the garage situated on their lot and they were left alone. It was a case of we picked up the garage twice. It was there, minding its own business. I came along, picked it up again. There was nobody home at the time, so it was a mistaken identity.
So we taxed that garage twice, one under the legitimate owner and
Yes.
one under Mrs. Davis?
Yes, at the time she was redoing her cottage and built a new one, the garage, which is kind of close to the lot line, was picked up. This is the second garage we've had where we've picked up twice. One was a mistaken garage when we had the different guy applying for the permit for the
Right.
garage next door. Remember that one? This
Yeah.
time? This one is cleaner than that. So that'll be corrected, and Mrs. Davis will get a new bill. The Heron property is one where, a little unusual, I've never run across one of these. The property went through the revaluation. The value of the house and the lot in Lake Arrowhead was never changed. I don't know how it happened, because we do it by computers and do them by numbers. We just changed the entire map, if you will. And so for a number of years, more than 3, we can only go back 3 years because the state law allows supplementals to go back 3 years. So I've written a letter to them. The letter is attached to the Heron abatement, I believe.
Yes.
And I laid out what the problem was. He did come in and we did speak. I've discussed it with the tax collector, and he would like something like an installment plan, and what we've decided to do is put all the bills, the 3 bills, into one amount, which would be $5,511. It's quite a tax record. And see if that can be spread out over two tax bills at least. I'm talking about finding out if more can be done within the law tomorrow with the collector. We'll be doing these tomorrow.
So that's one where we send the letter that says that he has to correct that within 60 days.
That's correct.
And we're voting on that tonight, on the 60-day requirement?
Actually, you're voting on that tonight, is making it a supplemental
Okay.
and allowing the tax collector and myself tomorrow to put the dates. They're going to be consistent with the dates that we do every year. In other words, it's 30 days out for the first half and 30 days out for the second half. The second half is really our April 6th deadline. So it's the first one that we need to pick.
I don't want to vote tonight to lock this 60-day in.
You're not going to lock the 60 days.
Okay, he'll still have an option of a payment plan with the town.
I wouldn't call it a payment plan, but some sort of a payment arrangement with the tax collector. And I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be because I don't have the exact number.
No, we just want to make sure he doesn't go into default
Right.
Right.
or something that, even though it was his property, it's still our error, basically.
It's our error. He didn't notice it. That's okay. He did make some payments, and those have to be applied to this figure. This is the raw number, and the payments he's made over those 3 years will be applied.
Right, so I would presume that he was paying on the previous value.
Yes.
Yep.
Elizabeth Hughes, this is a case where a mobile home needed to be removed from Whispering Pines off Route 5. And state law requires that if you're going to move a mobile home onto the highway, you need to pay the taxes to the town for the full year. Come to find out, the mobile home was there, but wasn't paying taxes anyway. So in our wisdom, we discussed it with the owner and decided that $493.92 would cover at least 3 years, which is all we can do. And that made the mobile home going over the highway legal, and I believe it's gone. AT&T Mobility LLC, this is one where the power equipment up on Ospey Hill, Ospey Mountain, we had discussed this where the owner wanted, we had that land assessment element that we were trying to tax. Remember the tower? You taxed the tower and the land was asked to be done differently. This is the power equipment on that same site. Is not owned by the tower people, nor is it owned by the town. It's owned by AT&T. So we're going to tax them, AT&T.
And it's personal property.
It's personal property, yes, thank you for that. And the total of the 11 accounts, $1,871,300 of value. Tax valuation that will be put back onto the tax roll is $22,776.60. That's the total of the supplement. If there are any questions, I can answer.
I'd move we approve the supplementals as presented by Sherry.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the supplemental tax. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
I'll leave that with you, Mr. Chairman. This will be the supplemental one that will give us the authority to do it tomorrow. The date will be changed, the signatures on that. That's for the supplementals only.
Okay.
Jerry, is that different from the one you gave me for them to sign?
Oh, you have one to sign too?
You had given me one.
Well, it's the same one. In fact, it's the original, so that's fine. We're only signing one is fine.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss and vote on property tax abatement requests, 12/23 through 12/29 inclusive. What is the pleasure of the board on that?
Are these all in the second part of that spreadsheet, Jerry?
Yeah, it has a 2 on it.
Yeah, okay. The 2 or the 3?
Mine's got a 2 on it.
All right.
Did you get a 2 on yours?
Well, it's the same one, but I guess you could call it a 2 on there.
Oh, I see, it's, yeah, well,
I make a motion to approve as recommended by the tax assessor's agent.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, which has been seconded, to approve the property tax abatement requests 12-23 through 12-29 inclusive at the recommendation of the assessor. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
and Mr. Chairman, I believe the book is there, and it's the end of it's the final, we won't be using that book anymore. Be using a new one.
This book right here.
Yes. That is it, thank you very much.
We have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, we do have one?
Yeah,
I think-
broke them out differently. They
No, that's fine.
intended me to,
I
What do you
think
got?
it's the same one we just talked
we just
about,
voted on it.
12/24.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think, hang on. Yeah, it's 12/24 on the,
yeah, this one you had given me,
That's the mobile home.
Oh, the mobile home,
Yes, we've listed that
Yeah.
twice.
we did it, yeah.
yep. Okay.
Well, we moved right through it.
And then there was a discuss vote on Mr. Dago's letter of January 10th regarding supplemental tax for 3 years. I think we did that too, didn't we?
We did, and we kind of did it along with the spreadsheet, which kind of,
yeah, that was my mistake, I
no, I made,
thought they
no,
were
but
separate.
it wasn't, it was really a separate item.
Christina was trying to make the agenda look longer, that's all.
All right. Very good, then. I
Okay.
thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss and vote on a request not to plow near the front of Roger Bouffard's property at 537 Secocas Trail. This, if you recall, is the former Brunetti's restaurant. He has made a request that the town not plow for a distance out from his fence for approximately 8 to 10 feet. I've discussed this with the road commissioner, and there's no objection there, but according to the town attorney, there has to be a formal vote of the board authorizing him not to plow.
This is pretty exciting to get, to get a request not to plow, so I would,
Well, he wants it plowed in front of his place, but just not close. So I guess my question is, are we fine with the definition of how close?
I think that was an agreed-upon thing between Mr. Bouffard and the road commissioner. because Mr. Buford had indicated that he, with his own pickup truck, would take care of the snow. What he was concerned with is, I guess, a large amount of that snow, because of the size of the municipal plows or the private contractors' plows, might throw up a sufficient amount of snow where it might damage his fence. So,
I will move to grant the request.
So, okay. Is there further discussion after
yep.
this?
I need a second, though.
Okay.
Second for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve the request of Roger Buford to not plow in front of his property at 537 Secocas Trail. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
So he understands as you're plowing, you're gonna be plowing snow into this area that he wants not plowed, right? I mean, that's the way it works.
Right.
Okay. As long as he's satisfied that he's gonna have more snow than,
My concern is that we're voting on not to plow near the front of Roger Buford's property.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we're gonna plow in front of his property, as long as there's some agreement, but what I'd like to see is how far is
Distance,
near,
yeah.
right? Because, you know, we could have a different plow contractor next year, right? And if we don't have it defined somehow, who we fall back onto?
Yeah, it would be nice to say if it says within 10 feet of the fence or some sort of thing
Yeah,
like
that's, I
that.
guess that's all I'm asking for is,
Yeah.
if we're gonna go to the exercise to vote on it, let's define what we're voting on.
And my concern is that there are some legal questions as to ownership of the property and where Mr. Buford's property begins and the town and whatnot that his attorney and the town attorney is working on. I'm concerned with if we say we're not going to plow within a certain distance, does that impact the discussions that the attorneys are having at all?
I wouldn't think so, only from the standpoint that our town attorney has asked us to take the vote, and I would doubt that he would ask us to take a vote on an issue that he felt would put the town in jeopardy.
So the attorney knows about this.
Not only does the attorney know, he's the one that told us that we had to take a vote on it.
Well, I'm fine with taking a vote, but I'm not fine with taking a vote with some nebulous number.
no numbers, no.
No number, I mean, let's determine what was the agreement between Doug and Mr. Buford. Is it 10 feet from the fence? Is it 6 feet from the fence? Is it,
Ask a silly question. If 150 people in town want this, does the plowed guy drive down the road like this, or what? I mean, zigzag down the road?
well,
What do you want
it's,
hitting
the real discussion is that there is in most of the roads within the municipality, there's a town right-of-way. And we plow to the extent of the town right-of-way. That's why mailbox is in the way and all of that. Too bad, right? In this case, we're still having a discussion of where is that town right-of-way stop and where does it start, right, basically. Once that's defined, I think then it becomes a very specific of, we're gonna plow this much. In an attempt to at least, I guess, have some consideration for Mr. Buford. In this snow season, he's asked that we not plow up against the fence, which is fine with me, but that's right now an understanding between he and the road commissioner. Right? So, I mean, I have a concern with Ken, or Natalie, or whomever is saying, oh, you gotta put it in a vote. Okay, if we're gonna put it in a vote, let's define what we're voting on. Because right now, we're saying, don't plow near the front of Roger Buford's property. Well, where's the front of his property? Is that defined by the fence?
Yeah, I see this as an interim measure, and I have no problem voting on it as it is, but on the other hand, you say to be near, to be defined by the road, the person plowing it and Mr. Buford. And, you know,
And that's fine.
and then,
If
you know,
we want to
and
add
then
that
what we're
as
gonna,
a,
if this is gonna hold up for more than 1 year, then we want an exact measurement.
do we want to, and I don't have a problem if you want to add that as a piece to the motion. The area being defined and agreed upon by, between the road commissioner
Okay.
and the
Yes.
landowner.
In the motion then, that the near to be defined by Mr. Buford and the plow contractor, and then specified by an exact measurement.
If we have an exact measurement, and it says 10 feet, and it happens to be 9.5 feet.
I'll withdraw exact.
Should be some approximate
Oh,
distance.
I mean,
or-
I think that, I'm good if it's between, not necessarily the plow contractor, but certainly the road commissioner and the property owner. If they come up with an agreement that this is where you're gonna plow to, that's fine.
And that's fine with me too. I have no problem
And
with
if-
saying
and I guess
road
if this,
commissioner.
if this allows the road commissioner to do that's fine.
I have no problem with road commissioner and taking out exact as far as the measurement, just by coming up with a measurement.
You seconded it
Yeah.
originally.
And then we run into the issue of the road commissioner is also the contractor for.
No, he's
the plow.
not. He's a road commissioner. When it comes to the decision of who's plowing or who's the road commissioner, he's the road commissioner. I think we've made that very clear back when all of this shook down.
I know that it would be the road supervisor, we made the town administrator that.
The town
So-
contractor has no voice in making an agreement for the town of Waterboro. The road commissioner does, because he's an agent of the town,
Yes,
okay?
and I agree with that. It's just-
So in this case, it's the town, it's the road commissioner, and we're, I guess, endorsing that or ratifying that decision. But plow contractor can go make an agreement with anybody and everybody, but that's not, doesn't hold the town accountable. That's the plow contractor.
I think I'm in agreement with you that we ought to have some type of approximate footage clarification in writing on file here at the town hall. Any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to approve the request of Roger Buford to not plow, according to what's worded here, near the front of his property at 537 Secocas Trail,
With the motion having been amended.
with the motion having been amended.
That near be defined by the road commissioner, Mr. Dufar, and presented as a measurement.
Is there any discussion on his amendment? No further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried 3-2. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and vote to approve the code enforcement officer's order to correct violation for tax map 46, lot 1305.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept, to approve the CEO's order to correct violation. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Old business, to discuss the topic for the second public night scheduled for February 9th, 2012. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, we could do a highlight of all the town committees. We are constantly looking for members. We've got several committees that have openings. Maybe do something, a little snippet on each committee, and maybe entice some folks to join and learn a little bit about the committees and what they're doing.
I think that fills up a night.
And we're each liaisons to certain committees, so each selectman takes the responsibility of the committees that they're liaisons for.
Fine. In agreement there? Okay.
Could I throw in a pitch for my project on veterans that night?
Yes?
Okay.
Should include those two items as topics of discussion. Chair will accept a motion to accept the warrants for bills and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
It's been, motion's been made and seconded to accept the warrants for bills and payrolls. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Chair will accept a motion, or entertain a motion to accept the minutes of January 17th, 2012.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of January 17th, 2012. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
And I'm abstaining, I wasn't here.
And one abstention. Pending decisions, the public service announcements, that's still an ongoing thing, as well as the committee self-evaluations, which we're going to take care of on the 26th. Work with Logan Circle residents on water runoff issue. The review the driveway opening permit language.
Doug's got some driveways that have been identified as exactly why we need to rework the ordinance. We've taken a look at some of that. We've got some language that we're looking at, and I know he's on vacation, I think the first week in February, so hopefully that second week we'll have something for the board.
Board and committee status. We're slowly, very slowly chipping away at that. We have, as I said, we have another applicant for the library trustee, but we can still use some people on these different committees, and they'll be highlighted on February 9th for a topic of discussion on public night. So if you're remotely interested in participating on any board or committee, maybe that's the time that you should show up and kind of get a little bit of an overview of just what you might be getting into. Water District office space lease. I know that the town administrator is reviewing the language and so forth on that. The Water District survey. Those have gone out. What has return
I've
percentage
gotten
been?
51 back out of 159. I'm not sure how much longer you want me to wait. It's been
Pretty good.
3 weeks since I sent them out.
I'd say give it 30 days.
Yeah. Give it another week and then we'll close it off and do an assessment.
And I encourage anybody who's listening out there, if they haven't sent it in, to do so. I'd appreciate it.
And the last pending item is the Eagle Scout project.
I did contact the Scoutmaster, and she is going to be contacting the Eagle Scouts nominee or whatever.
Week's action list. I know we have one item that Dennis has mentioned that we're going to have on there.
Yeah, we need to set up a meeting, and I'm fine with if it's Nancy and Clint and D&E. If they want a selectman there, I'll go and visit with them, but it's really to talk about amending a little bit of what the current contract that we have with D&E. But I guess I'd leave that to Nancy if she wants somebody, a board member there with them, and I'd volunteer to go.
Gordon, I'd like just to say the project that I proposed to come up with regular reports on departments and reports meaning how they work and putting them on public access television is a little harder than I thought it was going to be at first. And my time, and since that time, has been taken up by more, I have more responsibilities for my time. Going to continue working on that, but the schedule, I'm afraid, with the work with the fire and rescue is not right there. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to start off on that. But, so in the interim, there's some areas that might be a little easier to cover, such as the transfer station, and in here too. If anybody's interested in getting going on that, great. I think we can do fire and rescue, but it's going to be a little more difficult, a little more complex than I thought, and we'll do it, but it's not going to happen next week.
Good. Discussion of agenda items.
We're supposed to have a brief meeting next week, right? We have.
Yeah, this will
Yes.
be done by 7.
So we probably ought to limit that as much as possible, so the only thing that we have is the appointment. So I guess we'll leave that. Reminders. Wednesday, January 25th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., the York County Community Action Fuel Assistance appointments will be at the Old Town Hall. Remember, you must have an appointment. You can call 324-5762 to schedule that appointment, and that number can also be found on the town's website. Thursday, January 26th at 5 p.m., the Assessing Board Review will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Thursday, January 26th at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting will be with the board and committee chairs at 7 p.m.
That's 6.
Yeah, that's at 6, should be with the committee chairs, and at 7 p.m. with all the board and committee members at the town hall. Should inclement weather be present on that night, our snow date is February 2nd. Saturday, January 28th at 8:30 a.m. is the famous and highly entertaining cribbage tournament at the Old Town Hall. On Monday, January 30th at 7 p.m., the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Tuesday, January 31st at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting will be brief and then followed by a 7 p.m. Selectmen's second quarter budget review at the Town Hall. I know that there's been some inquiries as to whether or not the quarter budget review will be televised, and it will be. The cameras will continue to roll right from the meeting, the Selectmen's meeting, right into the budget review.
Did you mention the 30th, the 5 p.m.? Do we need to mention that or what?
It's not on there.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
gonna
said
be,
it tonight.
you're gonna have to post.
Yeah, we're gonna have to post that, but I'll back up on Monday, January 30th, the Board of Selectmen will be meeting here at Town Hall from 5 to 7, specifically for a workshop regarding the budget. There'll be no business meeting, it'll just be a workshop. Wednesday, February 1st at 5 p.m., the 2020 Master Planning Committee will meet at Central Station. On February 1st at 7 PM, the planning board will be meeting with the selectmen at the town hall. On February 2nd, from 5 to 7 at the town hall, the Board of Selectmen will conduct a second budget review workshop. Again, there'll be no meeting or no vote or anything taken, it will just be a workshop meeting. On Monday, February 6th at 7 PM, the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. I should back up between the 1st and the 6th. On the 4th, which is a Saturday, the Board of Selectmen will meet from 8 AM to 12 noon for another budget workshop. Again, no business will be conducted, it's simply a workshop specifically devoted to the budget. On Monday, February 6th at 7 PM, the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. And on Tuesday, February 7th at 6 PM, the Selectmen's meeting will be at the Town Hall, and it says we have reports from EMA, Fire Department, and the Sheriff, and we may include on that, I think, isn't that when we're gonna have the chair of the Charter Commission
We're
come
gonna
in?
wait until the 21st.
We're gonna wait till the 21st, that's correct. Okay, I got too many notes aside here. All right, so we'll post that one appropriately the next time. Is there any reminder that I have missed or misrepresented? There's been a change, because oftentimes it happens where there's a last-minute change. 'Cause I didn't see anything in here about the road review committee.
They just met, they met last week,
They met last week,
Yeah.
so there's nothing coming up close to that.
second week of
Good.
February.
Does any of the selectmen have anything else they'd wish to impart before I'll entertain a motion to adjourn?
You get the motion.
I get the motion?
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Opposed? Good night, everyone.